Please check the video resolution. It's not optimal. Oh well, it's fine.
It's just having a little bit of trouble.
Hi everybody, and good Monday to you.
Hi. Hope everyone's doing all right. Had a good couple of weeks.
Yes.
Better than Cheshire in last week's update. They're a little upset.
Just a little. So, I had a lot of just personal drama with that page, but I'm not even gonna lie. My absolute favorite, best time ever is drawing Cheshire's facial expressions, particularly when they are so, it's mad. Well, it's terrified, or, what have you.
Several versions of terror.
Yes. All the many versions. But today...
And then getting scruffed.
Yep. like a straight up cat. Oh, and Orlia says hello as well. She is here perched on my shoulder and has been quiet all afternoon, but now she has something to say. So, today we are actually not, sadly, working on Cheshire's delightful facial expressions. We are going to be working on Oriel's resting bitch face.
Yep, she's our special friend.
Yep. I mean, and yeah, this is not nearly as done as pages usually are when we stream, so you guys are going to see a little bit of the, super beginning thumbnailing process, which maybe if you're art nerds will be exciting, and otherwise will probably just seem like weird witchcraft, which is exactly what it is. So yeah, that's what I am going to start doing. If anyone was wondering, I tend to start with blue lines because they are a little easier to draw over. Even though, and that's just an old habit from traditional artwork. Because digitally, I mean, you can affect layer opacities and just make everything light. So you can start with whatever color you want. I just, when I was first learning to do any kind of art, I started in traditional mediums, and that kind of is just an old habit that carried over, because you were supposed to do everything in a light blue pen or a pencil, and then go over it in a regular pencil, and then go over it in pen, and I'm glad digital mediums are a thing now.
But that's the holdover of calling it inking, even though it's digital, right?
Yes. In fact, I and most artists I know still refer to, the finishing line work process as inking, even though, yeah, it's definitely not ink. But yeah, so we're gonna draw a hot fae lady, and
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, that's
everybody likes a hot fae lady, right?
Except for Gigi. Well, and Zay. But he doesn't like anyone.
Okay. We got a bird being cute here.
I know, she's so adorable, and I hate it because I mean, obviously I love that she's adorable and I love her, but she was being antisocial to me all weekend. Oh, these are way too strong eyebrows. Hang on. I gotta double check Oriel's eyebrows.
What did she look like? She had eyebrows that could kill a man.
I mean, that's what Shale looks like. God damn. But yeah, so Burb here, she's been antisocial all weekend and refusing to sit with me, and just peeping at me from the corner and just being mad and just pissed off all day. And I mean, she's adorable even when she's pissed off, but now she's sitting on my shoulder and giving me kisses and being super lovey, and I'm just like, why?
Because you're doing something.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've been at work, for 4 hours, and she couldn't care less, and then as soon as we start streaming, she decides she's gonna be all super cute and sweet and adorable, and I'm just like, why? Can't pay attention to you But that's exactly how my cat is too. You know, I pretty much all he does is just scream at me all day, 90% of the day, and then when I come home from work and I'm exhausted and I'm sitting down to eat and work on threads some more, then he jumps on the couch, comes up to me, gets as close as he possibly can, and just like presses his head against me,
or flops on the keyboard,
or flops directly on the keyboard or the tablet, and gets super lovey and starts purring, and like he'll let me rub his belly. And this is like the most antisocial, angry, shitty little cat you've ever met until like 8 p.m.
Well, the best thing we ever did for our cat was get a dog.
Right? Because now she's so
care
sweet.
Less, but now she's super duper sweet.
Right. Well, I have 2 dogs. He don't give a shit. Now,
also, she makes our dog so jealous.
If I got another kitten, he probably would, but also he would try to kill it.
It's like I'm gonna do both, and whichever one works.
I in fact fostered a kitten not too terribly long ago, and he, I thought about keeping him. I was like, he's so cute and sweet, and maybe they'd learn to get along, and Nodens always wants a friend, but he's just too mean to make a friend because he's dumb. No. The minute and of course I didn't leave them unattended because I know that Nodens can be a vicious little monster, but straight up the minute I brought that kitten out and let them touch noses, his like pupils dilated and he splayed his claws out and hunched down and got into hunter mode. Like, it's the same way he stares at my fish that he kills or used to kill on a regular basis because he learned how to take the fish lid off of the tank. But so yeah, kitten was not an option. And my other cat, who is a lot nicer than him, apparently also has decided she hates kittens now because she was outside last night chilling, and some poor tiny kitten wandered into my yard, and she treed him. And it was the middle of the night, and I had to go, find my mom and wake her up, and we had to go find this giant death ladder that she owned from when construction was being done on her house, and drag it to my yard down the road, and it was a nightmare. But she was super proud of herself. And I was like, no, you're being a bully. Don't be proud of yourself. She's like, I protected you. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I remember, Mela, when you were in a tree in the yard and had to help you out, barely, had to give you the confidence to save yourself.
Right. Because she's been treated by a neighbor dog. She did not like it. And it was another disaster with the death ladder because, spoiler alert, it is a lie that the fire department rescues cats from trees. If you call the fire department and say, my cat's stuck in a tree, they'll go, that sucks. Call animal control.
Yeah.
And animal control doesn't really exist in...
Back in small town 1950s, maybe, firemen did that.
Yep. But that's a big old myth.
Oh, I also feel like a superhero would never... Hi. I love you too. That scared me because she hit me in the face and then got on my hair.
Sorry.
That's okay. I have been deemed chair-worthy.
Yes, she saw glasses and was like, that's a ladder, right?
That definitely.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like if I were a superhero, I would rescue cats from trees.
Yeah.
But probably most other superheroes would.
No. I guess it depends on what your power is.
Yeah, I mean, if my power was like flying, obviously. If my power was burrowing, probably not.
Probably not.
Be like, I can burrow under the tree and uproot it, and then the cat and the tree will die. I don't think anyone wants that. So I have to redraw her mouth because I kind of realized I drew it closed. And how can you bitch at people if your mouth is closed? I mean, ask legitimate questions if your mouth's closed.
Also, it's got to be slightly open to give you that
look of utter disappointment that you
also
exist.
I'm sexy and you know it.
Yeah, that's her. So in case you all haven't figured out yet, this is not my favorite character.
Why would you say that? Oh, Orlia likes her, though.
No, Orlia's clearly agreeing with me that she's the worst.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
well, let's go with that.
I'm 100% sure that's what's happening.
Or she was like, draw Celestine.
Right? So, oh, hello. My bird, there is a box set of Warhammer figures on a shelf nearby, and it has Saint Celestine on it. And I guess because wings, Orlia has decided that she loves Saint Celestine and only wants to hang out with her most of the time. I think I've told this story before, but we went home for the weekend because she usually lives at work with me, but I like to bring her home on the weekend. We went home for the weekend and came back Tuesday for work, and she was just so pissed off and immediately flew right off my shoulder and ran to the shelf with Saint Celestine and just started yelling at the box. And I'm just like 100% sure she was tattling on me. And, you would think I abuse all of my pets, even though I would jump in front of a bus for any of them, but that's fine. It's 100% fine. All right. So I just need to kind of... Yep, that's right. Okay.
So, can you talk a little bit about how you angle faces and shape them so that they... Because we have a good example here about how she's she's got a quizzical look on her face and
it's 100% prayers to Bolshevikus and trying to make it look aesthetic. I wish that was not 100% the case. I mean, yeah, there is more to it than that.
The tilted eyebrow.
Yes.
The slightly open mouth.
Yeah, like some of it is just study. If you stare at people long enough and you pay close attention to their expressions and you draw them for years and years, you eventually learn how to convey expressions. But as far as wow, why did that get so dark? What the heck? As far as like tilting faces and understanding angles and stuff, frankly, in a lot of stylized art, angles of faces actually aren't 100% accurate. They just look better.
Right, you exaggerate a little bit for effect and make it pretty.
Especially when you're drawing a fae whose only redeeming quality is that she's hot. I'm sorry. Anyway. But so, there was this technique that I read about in a book that I used to kind of try to do, and I think it probably helped me a little when I was learning, where you basically would take like an orange or an equally round piece of fruit, and you would draw the little face X on it, how you do with people, and turn it.
The one you can see right there.
Yeah. Although I made her eye lines way too low there, but I have learned how to compensate for my own bad initial sketching. So you would turn that essentially and just kind of like try to draw based on that, the angles and understand. And I don't know that was an exceptionally good way to teach that, but I learned it that way okay.
Probably spending time thinking about it helps you as much as doing it.
Yeah.
Sir Peter says, staring at people, it's not weird if it's for art.
You say that, but the amount of people I've stared at while I was drawing them in a public place, and then they were weirded out, and then they saw I was drawing them and were even more weirded out, it turns out not everybody agrees. But that's okay. Because there's a lot of things that people think make me weird, and some of them they're 100% right. And artists are strange people. And then there's an equal amount of people who are like, oh, wow, you drew me? That's so cool. Can you draw, a million other things for me? And I'm like, no, I was just practicing, and this was for myself here. take this doodle of yourself if you want, and I'm gonna run away now because, I don't work for exposure.
You don't need to eat. You're an artist.
Oof. Well, beans and potatoes, man, they are cheap. But I don't really like beans, and potatoes are not. Well, they're just very starchy.
Yeah, we're talking about. You need to cook them first.
Yes.
Then they're a lot better.
Yes.
Shout out to my sister-in-law. She likes raw potatoes.
What?
Yeah.
All right.
It's like a
Gross.
long-term snack for her. She doesn't like consume one, but she'll nibble on it.
It's weird.
I mean, to each their own.
Yeah, it's a true story. But they are a member of the nightshade family, which is why they taste bad raw. But my sister's dogs like raw potatoes, so there's that. There are some other creatures who like raw potatoes. I'm not one of them. Nor is my assassin. I just got started a delightful new D&D character for a friend's first ever campaign she's DMing and doing a really good job.
Sir, just real quick, Sir Peter says they stay crunchy that way. Yes, they do.
They do. They do stay crunchy that way, but they also are crunchy if you fry them or do literally anything else to them.
I like potatoes.
I love potatoes. I had potatoes last night. I'm going to have potatoes again tonight, and probably tomorrow, and probably for breakfast. Because, as I said, they're cheap. In fact, I went to a local farm today on my way into work and got some really awesome, handsome potatoes for like 89 cents a pound. And I just can't bitch about that. So, I was supposed to be, I think, teaching people a relevant skill here. But really the best thing, and this is what everybody's always going to tell you, and it is the sad truth, there's no magic get better button. It's just practicing and practicing and practicing and practicing, even with this. Now, I did, when I was in high school, buy myself hang on guys, I'm looking at Oriole's hair for a second, buy myself a mannequin head, because that was a lot better to use than an orange because it had like a nose and shit.
Right.
But I don't remember what happened to that mannequin head. I think like my brother stole it to do some weird nonsense too, or whatever. But having that to like tilt around helped me do like nose angles a lot. And then
Same posable dolls, right?
Yeah. Except I was a brat child who didn't appreciate the really awesome art mannequins that my mom bought me, and I used them as gross gray alien Barbies. And then I lost them, and now I'm really sad because it turns out they were the best art mannequins ever. And the reason why I can never find them again is that she bought them at like a homeschoolers convention, and they were just made by some individual artist.
I see.
So yeah,
That's too bad.
They were super priceless, and I used them to steal Barbie and Ken's identities because they were doppelgangers.
Right.
They were gray, expressionless, exactly the size of Barbies, and so I murdered my sister's
Barbies. Regret things we've done with items from childhood.
Right. Mine is it turns out, the best art mannequins ever, and the next closest thing is half their size and they're $100 a piece. Hey, stop! I know you have opinions. They're not needed right now. That's my big childhood regret. Shout out to my mom. She's a great mom. And she... I recently told her this story because I straight up went and asked her, like, where the hell did you find these mannequins? Because I want to buy them again. And she was like, it just never occurred to me that you would think of them as alien Barbies. And I was like, Mom, I was a messed up kid. And she was like, yeah, I know, but But of course you use them as gray alien Barbies. Well, yeah, too bad you can't get them anymore. And I was like, shit. Like, thanks, Mom. I turned out great.
I learned my lesson. Now,
right? Now that it's way too late.
Well, fine. If you don't want my paintings, I'm gonna go stand on the wall.
Right. My children are all as stupid as I was as a child. I'd straight up do that shit too. I'd just be like, go to timeout. I'm like, fine, I'd rather be there than talk to you. It's really a miracle my parents didn't murder me.
That was petty, but I still feel bad.
Right? It's petty enough that I remember it to this day and feel bad about it to this day. Yeah.
Well, for anyone just joining us,
my parents are saints.
We're talking about how to do faces.
Yeah, and
childhood trauma.
Right. Self-imposed childhood trauma.
But yeah, I think you've done a really good job with changing expressions and keeping each character the way that character looks, because like
That's
Cheshire's eyes, they get really big because they have really big eyes.
Yes. And no one else does.
And no one else does.
I bitched a lot about the Alita Battle Angel movie because I hated how Uncanny Valley and gross her giant anime eyes were when no one else in the cast had giant anime eyes. But then I created Cheshire, and they have like really huge, disproportionately large eyes, and everyone else has much smaller eyes.
Yeah.
But it works for them because these aren't real people.
Yeah. Well, they're not all the same.
Yes.
They're not all the same race. We got a multiracial cast. And...
Yes. In fact, I think. I don't think anyone on the cast is the same race. We have a half celestial, half elf. We have a half dragon. We have a fae. We have an elf. We have Yuan Ti. We have.
Yeah, there's only one human.
We have Alex, who's human, and then we have Cheshire, and they are a Cheshire. That's all I can say about that.
Tyler, the hero kid, says, "Hey, it's Tyler. How you been?"
Hi, Tyler. I've been good.
Hope you're well too, Tyler.
Yes. And so it's interesting because I didn't even realize that until just now. I guess because I draw so many pointy ears for this comic, but actually, pretty much every. Oh well. Then there's Nerida. Nerida's a special exception as well, but she's clearly not human at 7 feet tall, but it's a little bit of a spoiler where Nerida comes from. But yeah, I don't think anyone is actually the same race.
No.
So.
Yeah, I guess I knew that, but it just never occurred to me in such stark terms.
Yep. Yep. But so everybody's different, and we've
and no one looks samey.
Yes, same face syndrome is a terrible thing in the art world. And I don't actually necessarily even mind it. Like, if you like drawing a certain face and that's how you like your people looking like, oh, okay. Well, still hi, Tyler. And if you like drawing, people a certain way, that's 100% cool. I mean, Eiichiro Oda, draws pretty much like one woman for the whole first 50-something One Piece books, and then he draws that woman with a different nose. But he's a very, very famous storyteller and mangaka.
I was not super familiar with One Piece, and I had a lot of trouble keeping the different people straight for a while. And then enough exposure.
None
was that.
Well,
that.
According to all my fan fictions, none of them are straight. Don't worry.
Tyler the hero kid says, "Dies no love."
Well, I do love you. I do. I love everyone.
But hey, you got a shout out.
But yeah. I could have just been like, I don't know who that person is. I'm not talking to them. But that's a really bad way to be an internet personality. But I drew the top of her head way too flat. All right. Okay. Sorry. I got distracted talking about other stuff. But yeah, I mean, this is, we've been working on this before we ever published, or even before we made our website, which was made like a year and a half ago. Yeah. We've been working on this for years. And a lot of the time that I personally spent working on it was actually just developing the characters' designs and facial expressions, and working on practicing making people actually kind of look the same. Right. Because I had a lot of experience drawing Cheshire.
Sure they are...
Yeah, they look consistent, I should say.
They're consistent.
Yeah, not that they look the same. In fact, that they all look different and that they are consistent. And Lowen is a particular challenge with that because the man is just funny looking, and sometimes he's more funny looking than otherwise.
Yeah, than other times. But she showed me the comic before we posted it because we always go over everything together. Yep. And I was looking at Lowen and I was like, that's wrong. And then I zoomed in on it and I was like, oh, no, that's just Lowen being funny.
That's just Lowen. He's just funny looking.
It's just got a giant neck.
Yeah, he does. And, I have a passion for drawing thick boys, as people who know me will know, and people who check out the Not Safe for Work folder will know on our Patreon. But Lowen is especially incredibly thick, and not all in a good way, because he is the least humanoid of anyone in the cast. I mean, he's still very humanoid, but a lot of the other characters are just much more human-looking than him. And his proportions are just not 100% right, and so they sometimes look a little bit uncanny. But, sometimes that's what happens when a giant cold-blooded winged lizard has a baby with an elf.
Speaking of, consistency with a character... I've been playing Hearthstone, and I was super excited for the latest single-player content that came out, and I really like it, and it's really good. But I almost was like, I'm gonna boycott it because of their opening video.
Oh, so bad.
Where Bran totally loses his character consistency from World of Warcraft and the earlier expansions, where he's just a foil for Elise now.
To look smarter.
And I love Elise.
And
she's a great character, and she is smart. But it's okay for him to be smart too.
Yes.
When we say characters shouldn't be the same, they can have similarities. They can have traits that overlap. They just need to have something that makes them unique and adds to the story. Well, but it's okay for both
Bran and Elise to be brilliant.
Yeah,
because
it's okay for Oriella and Nerida to both be wise.
Right. Because, I mean, let's face it, Reno and Sir Finley, both a little bit on the dumb side.
Yeah.
So it's fine to balance that out with... And my biggest issue with that is that it's... it's the developers and script writers' attempt to make Elise a more standout character in that she is the most brilliant and the most skilled and this, that, and the other, but you should not make your female characters better only by virtue of making the people around them shit.
Right. It's okay for Elise to star in this single player, and that's great. In fact, I like it.
Friggin' Tess Greymane
it doesn't
was
have
my
to come
favorite
at
one in the
Brand's expense.
Right.
It doesn't have to come at the expense of the other characters.
And it doesn't... Well, because frankly, then it also comes at Elise's expense. Because the truth of the matter is, if you can't write a character who by their own right is interesting or intelligent or compelling, well, for one, they shouldn't be the star of your story because they are clearly not well written. But for two, then you need to go back to the drawing board. I'm
Right.
sorry. I love Hearthstone. I do. I love basically everything Blizzard does. In fact, I am dangerously obsessed with Diablo to the point where I more or less deliberately lost my Diablo Switch cartridge so that I would stop playing it because I have work to do.
But the shiny explosions of loot and happiness.
And Vala, oh god. So anyway, that's the thing is I love Blizzard as a developer and I love pretty much all their IPs, but a lot of the directions Hearthstone has taken lately disturb me, and that is among them. Because I don't know who they've hired that doesn't know how to design female characters, but it's sad to me that they're pushing so hard to make her this strong, independent, intelligent star of the story by making all the other characters bad instead of by making Elise more interesting.
And I think it might be a conceit to make it easier because it's easier to dumb down things than to accelerate things. But and I'm sure Hearthstone does not get a huge story budget.
Also true.
But frankly, I mean, it was
no
too
credit.
much. It was too much.
I mean, I got I think 47 seconds into that and was like, wow, this is cringe-topia.
And we'll see if the actual, because next week is Brand's week, and his wing of it, and so we'll see if it continues there. It might have just been they thought it would be funny for the short, but I didn't think it was funny. It was cringy.
It was. I mean, seriously, I looked at that and I was like, I haven't written something this bad since I was like 14.
And Elise wasn't bad. I mean, if you had just taken away Bran and toned down the other two, it would have been probably fine. But the way Bran was acting compared to how he's always acted before was ridiculous.
Compared to him being a
ridiculous
font of knowledge, and all of a sudden he's listening to her talk about an artifact and it's like, oh, that sounds shiny.
And then just punches a button not knowing what it does.
Yeah.
He's never I mean, he has punched a button before without knowing exactly what he does, but he always says, this should be with my best educated guess on what I know, which is considerable.
Well, but
and then it usually works out.
They basically just completely rewrote him for this expansion. He's gone from being, a member of the League of Explorers who is so he went from being a WoW character who's an NPC who's a font of information to a Hearthstone character who's a member of the League of Explorers who is, essentially Elise's counterpart, babysitter of Reno and Sir Finley. And now he's like, I ride dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
I know, and
if
they still were acting like co-workers, equals, but he came off as an idiot.
Yeah, and if you're Elise and you're that intelligent, why are you working with an idiot?
Yeah.
Well, with 3 idiots.
Right?
It's one thing to have Reno, 2 talented idiots with you.
Reno is muscle and Finley is heart.
Yep.
But if you have those, you don't need a third one.
You don't need third idiot who doesn't even have his own claim to fame.
Anyway, if we ever start to do that, we rely on our viewers and our patrons to call us out.
Yeah.
But I think we're both worried about making sure that never happens.
Right? Please hit me with a piano if I ever just straight up foil a character to make another character look better. But yeah, I mean, and I guess we talk a lot of shit on these art streams for people with 100 Twitter followers between the two of us, while Blizzard is a multi-billion-dollar developer. But I mean, I just can't help but feel that there's a reason why everyone in their senior development staff is running away screaming.
Yeah.
And it's called Activision.
Well, I mean, it was a sad day.
I've worked in the gaming industry way too long to not know that.
Yeah.
I mean,
we've got 100, almost 50 between the two of us.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
totally
different.
In fact, we have 149 between the two of us, unless we've gotten another follower since then.
Or lost one.
Or lost. Well, we don't talk about that.
Right. But yeah. So.
Oh, hopefully we didn't drive you away, Tyler. But anyway, yeah, we love our characters and we want them to be. We're not gonna make them Mary Sue's or anything, but we want them to be what they are and not
Yes.
change just to make another character look good.
And that is the thing, is that, you know what? There are points of the story that I think it kind of seems like that is happening, and it's a bit unfortunate, actually, because to an extent, our story was crafted by many people sitting around a table and playing, and some of them just made really stupid decisions that other people at the table were able to take advantage of for more character development or FaceTime or what have you. But those are areas that we have worked to tweak and to adapt and rewrite so that it is not quite so egregious.
Yeah, I mean, when we first started, we didn't know it was going to go here. And also, we had... I mean, I'm always a pretty serious DM. I make jokes during play, and we joke and we have fun. And I always tell people, if it's not fun, let me know. And my goal is for it to be fun for everyone. But I always include very serious things, and
Yes.
I expect people to understand that if they can't just be like, oh, I do this, and then I say, well, there's a consequence, and they go, oh, never mind, I don't do it.
Right.
That doesn't happen, because I say, no, you said you're doing it.
Yep.
And you're gonna live with the consequences.
Yep.
And when people kind of get on board with that, it's I think more fun for everyone.
Yes.
Because it's not just a silly fest.
Yes.
Which it can be. That's fine if it is, but
I've heard it referred to it. I can't talk today, guys. I'm so sorry. But I had a friend say that D&D is always either Lord of the Rings or Monty Python's Quest for the Holy Grail. And you know what?
And Lord of the Rings has humor in it. You know?
We generally play the Lord of the Rings side of things,
Yeah.
but does that mean I do not love Monty Python's Quest for the Holy Grail? Absolutely not. But I've played with groups who are all shenanigans all the time, and the fact of the matter is it's fun for a session or two, but it doesn't ever really, you never become invested enough that you're like afraid to miss a session or that everybody always shows up. And I think that's why so many groups fall apart, is that people aren't truly invested because, whoever has run away with this kobold and, who they didn't realize was a kobold because the DM made them roll perception to notice a person in the room, and they just mistook this kobold for a human because they rolled a nat 1, and you're just like, guys. It doesn't work that way.
Tyler the Hero Kid says, so if you kill your character by mistake, it dies. That's really cool, to be honest.
Yes.
And I mean, I
don't use a lockpick set on your nose.
Yeah, right.
P.S.
I give a lot of opportunity to
to save yourself.
But yeah, I mean, if you die, you die.
Sometimes you just throw yourself into the bosom of evil.
Yeah, and we have had a few character deaths that are permanent.
One of which was directly committed by me. But a word in my defense, son of a bitch almost blew up my pregnant girlfriend. So yeah. I murdered another PC. Yeah,
so,
I did.
I mean, and also...
but then I had to deal with the consequences of that, which was getting my arms and legs cut off, by the way.
And there's always consequences. Characters can fight. Characters can love each other. I don't inhibit choice, but I always enforce consequences.
Yes. Because you can't be like, yeah, totally, I'm going to fuck this NPC who said that she's in love with me and will follow me everywhere, and then expect her to disappear in the morning. Like, doesn't work like that, guys. If you cross that person, like, let's say you seduce someone and you use them and you get 5,000 gold out of them, and then you drop them like they're hot. Well, later,
Guess
say
what?
10 years later,
it's going to be a real problem.
They're in a position of power. They might not want to help you get some important paperwork done.
Or might actively detract from it. Yep. I mean, that's I guess one of the hallmarks of my DMing is that I always try to consider how the world continues on,
Yeah. Because guess what? There's no person in the world whom the world is revolving around, and life goes on with or without you, and that's just the sad truth.
Which has made all my players very suspicious of me all the time, but...
Well, that's because you do suspicious witchy shit!
So there you have it. Suspicious Witchy Shit brought you this comic. Sponsored by Suspicious Witchy Shit.
Yes. Which is what art is anyway.
Yes,
so.
That's true. But anyway, the point of all of this is we really try hard to maintain character consistency.
Yes.
But I mean, they will grow, and they will make good choices, and they will make bad choices, and they will live by both of them.
She's not on one layer. Oops. Yeah, and the thing is that I'm not saying that. By no means do I think that consistency means
no growth,
stagnation, right? Like, in fact, I personally think that development and growth as a person and as a character is a part of being consistent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, if your character goes through some traumatic bullshit and like their parents and village are burned before their eyes and they're like, yeah, I'm going to go back to acting exactly the same as I did yesterday, then you're just like, but why? Because the last time you went through something traumatic, it meant something, you know? And people do grow and change, and...
That's one of the biggest sins of Hollywood TV.
Yes, it is. Undoing character development.
Because a new season starts and you got some new jokes you want to try out.
Mm-hmm. Biggest sin of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, just saying.
I mean, yeah. You wouldn't be wrong.
Once again, talking shit about multi-billion-dollar developers.
Well, as the Hobbit movies show, you don't have to be good to make money. To make a lot of money.
As Thor Ragnarok shows, you don't have to be good to be the most popular movie in your whole franchise. Oh, gosh. But yeah, so... Anyway, character consistency and all that is really important. And the truth of the matter is that I think one of the big pitfalls of that is people who look for absolute character equality.
Right.
And that's just not... I mean, some people, especially in like a fantasy setting, some people are more important than others. Like...
Well, I mean, clearly Alex is the most important character right now because he's the one who knows what's going on.
Right. And... You know,
and when something happens, you're not going to go, "Hey, Cheshire, I need your help."
Right? Because Cheshire's going to go, why though?
Why?
And they're 100% right. Why would you ask them?
They are the absolute wrong person to ask for help when you hear a loud roar in the darkness.
Right? And
because they're
the one who caused it. They directly may have caused it? May have? That's very generous.
I'm trying to be generous here.
Don't be.
Okay.
I know what Cheshire is. I love them, but they're garbage.
They're a hot mess.
Yes. And
just like, I mean, if you need someone to lift a gigantic boulder, you're not going to ask Oriella, you're going to ask Alolan.
Mm-hmm. Or even Shale. Shale is incredibly strong.
Yes.
Now, you might also ask Nerida, because Nerida is huge and terrifying and muscular, and you would assume she could lift that gigantic boulder. But then she'd be like...
Alex, you'd expect them all to work together to do it.
Right? And none of them would. And Cheshire's like, I'm not going to go anywhere near that giant boulder because I know when it inevitably falls from the failure of the teamwork, it will crush me to death.
She's like, that's why I'm going to sit on top of it while they're trying to move it.
Yes. But it's okay, because I weigh like 25 pounds soaking wet. Yeah, they're
real special.
I swear, they're a good character. They have redeeming qualities.
Yes.
You just haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, I mean...
the truth of the matter is...
We're still very early in our story.
You know, and I was saying this to Ranger, I think, the other day, is that Cheshire is, oh shit, I fucked up, the character for quite a while, unfortunately.
But she learns... Or they
have the unique ability to learn from their mistakes very quickly, which no other character seemed to pick up. It usually took a few hard lessons for the rest of them.
Sir Peter says they're also really hot because of the previous adjectives.
Well, I mean, yeah. But, you know, Cheshire's life is a struggle, and they have a reason they're the way they are, and, Oriella's life is less of a struggle, and that's the reason why she is the way she is. And everybody has their own motivations.
She comes from privilege. It just changes your different life.
It sure does. I have a personal acquaintance who comes from privilege who...
Oh, Sir Peter wants to clarify. He was talking about Nerida.
Oh, okay. I did wonder. I wasn't going to tell anyone they couldn't think that Cheshire was hot, but I thought that their garbage and a hot mess was a strange classification for their hot, but,
English is just a garbage language because it is my fault for saying there, because that was just referring back to what he was talking about.
Yep.
And that was correct English, but
also
very
pronouns.
Unclear.
Yep.
Because I actually got a B on an essay in English because of they being used for instead of she, and I made a big deal about it, and they were like, no, it's a singular. It's a singular pronoun. And I was like, no, they is literally not a singular pronoun. I said, but it is when it's non-specifically identifying a single person. I was like, well, yeah, but I mean, you can't throw my argument out because it is a plural pronoun.
Yeah, it is valid.
And they were like,
but
no.
English teachers
and when I literally say they were like, because it was a single person who I'm just not identifying, they were like, yeah, but in this case I'm right and you're wrong. And I was like, what?
What?
But what if I was right? Then I would be... And English, so my whole argument fell apart because she refused to accept they as anything but a singular pronoun. And I was like, but it literally is. So what if it... And this assistant was like, no, I'm right and you're wrong. Yeah, she was a TA.
Oh, of course.
So she couldn't be wrong because she's the TA. This is also the class where I got an A- because what a shame, Morgan Ranger. It could be better. It's good, but it could be better. And so I'm giving you an A-. And I was like, what?
What? That my high school art class, which I have previously ranted about quite a bit on these streams, I just want to say really quick, fuck you, Gina Snyder. Anyway, I also got really bad grades in that because the first thing that I put forward as a project I worked really, really hard on, and I way overachieved on it, and then everything else I gave to her, she was like, it could have been better. I know you're capable of more than this. And I'm like...
But it meets the assignment specifications,
exactly, right? But then again...
Then again... But did they say, what a shame?
No, but I also one time I got a C on an opinion paper because they disagreed with my opinion.
Right,
but it's an opinion paper.
And if it's supported, it doesn't matter if you disagree. That's virtually the same thing that this person told me. Is that I disagree that this.
So
in this
you're
case,
wrong.
So you're wrong. So you get a B.
Yep.
Whereas I was like, but if you just consider that maybe it was being used as a plural here, then my whole argument works. And she was like, no, it's not. So you're wrong. And I was like, but it could be because it is a plural pronoun too.
Yep.
Anyway, so it's just funny. English is funny because so yes, thank you for clarifying, Sir Peter. That was my bad.
So I'm not fluent in any language except for English, and I love English actually. English and art are pretty much my only two passions in the whole world. I mean, besides animal welfare, obviously, but they're my only creative passions. Well, I'm crocheting, but that makes me look like an old lady. So anyway.
With Nodens in the basket? No, not at all.
Right? Sitting here with this fat orange cat on my lap while I crochet. Yeah, I know how old I look. Fuck you. And all my gray hairs. Shit. But anyway, so I love English, and I'm actually not, I'm not proficient in any other language, but I studied both Gaelic and Japanese for quite a while, and I still try to, and Spanish. And I actually found that every single one of those languages that I was trying to learn just made more sense than English. it was sad and like borderline offensive to me as a native English speaker that I was like, I listen to Japanese and the words and the sentence structure just makes more sense than my own native language.
Yeah, and Spanish being so incredibly specific in that you can match everything just by gender in the sentence is really nice. I have a friend that speaks Estonian. He is Estonian, so of course he speaks Estonian. But he said in their language, they don't have gender at all. Everyone is an it. And he says it gets really confusing.
Oh, wow. Yeah, well. And it's interesting because, as you said, like, Spanish is so gender heavy that literally, like, pants or a shirt can be male or female, right? But then, you know, there are others that just...
Or you can have a sentence where it's like, le lo la iso, which is like, we did it to them. And you know who all of those are just by the gender of the article in front of the verb.
Yep.
Which is kind of cool.
All right. Well, I think that's about all the work I'm going to do on this panel right this second. So I'm going to move to the next panel, and we're going to draw more Hot Fae Lady. Yay! Just a lot smaller. So I guess this doesn't really show you guys my process at all, but, you know.
That was weird. Someone in a car that looks almost identical to mine just drove away, and I was like, is that my car?
Dude, that happened to me literally yesterday.
My car's still there. So.
I was in my own vehicle driving home, right?
In your vehicle?
Yes, I was in my vehicle. But a car of the exact year, make, model, and color down to the faded hood of my vehicle drove past me. And I was like, who the hell has my car? And I started wondering, like, did I lend my car to my mom or my baby sister or something? And then I just was like, I'm in my car. Like, wait, shit. Ah! You know, but I just, you know, it's just like that random thug who stole my vacuum that was actually my close friend who I lent my vacuum.
Who's that thug with my vacuum?
Right? Like, what is that thug doing with my Dyson? And it's like, oh yeah, wait, I gave it to him. Oops. Yep. Word in my defense, he was wearing a hoodie. Just kidding.
Oh, but I don't know if that's really in your defense.
Right, no, it's 100% worse. That's what makes it so funny. Yeah, but it was truly terrible, and I mean, he thought it was really funny, but I was a little mortified because I said it out loud. Like, not in those exact words, but
yeah, more or less.
But I was working at GameStop at the time, and he was one of my key holders, and my assistant manager was working that day as well. And I was like, oh my god, I can't believe I just said that. Of course that's Dwayne. I forgot I gave him the vacuum literally yesterday. Well, she straight up tattled on me the minute he walked through the door because she thought it was hilarious and was just laughing. And he's like, what's so funny? And she's like, oh, you're a thug because you're wearing your not work clothes. And, you know, they got a good chuckle out of it. And I was like, oh, I'm a little embarrassed.
There's that day.
Right? But, yeah, so I have a very weak grasp on what is happening until I stop and think about it real hard, usually. And then sometimes
Especially
I stop and think about it too hard.
If a thug had your vacuum, you probably wouldn't be walking back toward your house.
Right? Like, let's say I lent my vacuum to my close friend, and then a thug stole it from him, why would he be bringing it back to the GameStop said close friend worked at in said close friend's car? That's a very good question.
But it can't be him, that close friend, because they're not
because he's not wearing a freaking GameStop shirt. Like,
brains and their shortcuts really make some funny mistakes.
Yep. Oh my goodness. Yeah, in case you can't tell, this is going to be Einstein.
The steer gave it away.
What? And the very particular eyebrows.
No, it's definitely the sneer.
Oh, okay.
No, the eyebrows too.
Yep.
We're gonna weaponize eyebrows. I'm sure of it. That's the next big thing.
Oh yeah. Well, friggin' night elves
And
could
especially
already
blood
do it.
elves.
Yeah. Well, blood elves are sharp too. Like
Yeah.
at least the night elf ones are fluffy. They are gravity defying, but they're still
Blood
fluffy.
elves
Blood elves
theirs
wax them
into
to
points.
a point. You could break a blood elf's eyebrow off and just shiv someone with it. I'm 100% sure.
They're like, rude. I'm going to turn you into a hamburger. Like, I'm not a Tauren. Yeah, it's still going to do it.
Yep. Because guess what? We're terrible people.
It's not cannibalism if it's not an elf.
It's not cannibalism. It's not blood elf. I mean, those night elves are just
Holy different.
giant thugs.
Wow.
They're so racist, though.
They
The
are.
blood elves
blood
are the
elves
worst.
Super racist.
Like,
look at their own teammates and think about eating a hamburger. That's messed
right?
up.
Or like the female blood elf. One of the jokes that they tell is just a super racist joke about troll women's fashion.
Yep.
Like, oh
Super
my
racist.
gosh, they're so bad. And it's funny because I always read the lore about blood elves and was like, oh, they're such a tragic people. They were tricked and they're magic and all this stuff that happened. And then I started playing and I found out actually no, they could just stop using the magic and then they wouldn't be in this situation, but they all chose not to and they fell
That's why
deliberately.
there are still like 15 high.
Yeah, there's still a handful of high. All right.
Sorry for that brief interruption there. If anyone experienced that.
Yeah, I just randomly the streaming software just kaputted. But we were just talking about racist blood elves and how they're actually awful people, and I kept thinking they weren't awful people until I actually played a blood elf, and then I was like, wow, I was lied to. These are terrible people. Like.
Yeah, I mean, usually it is kind of a delightful subversion of tropes.
Right.
Maybe it's not quite as. If you look at elves as all good people, like in a lot of things, but it's perhaps just an exaggeration of the elf superiority trope.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Because even though they look down their noses at everyone in everything, they're all like at least mostly good. But blood elves are like straight up, nah, we're petty.
Mm-hmm. Like, back to Hearthstone, actually, Liadrin is one of the alternate paladin heroes. And when she introduces herself, she says, my blade burns with holy fire. But if you play against another Liadrin, you know what her response is?
No, I never heard it.
Holy fire is my middle name. Like, it's just the most immature, petty, stupid bullshit from this incredibly powerful leader of Blood Elf Paladins.
Well, and also all of their light is stolen.
Right. But if you read the Wikia, they didn't know. But apparently...
They have him enslaved under their city.
Right.
You can go look.
Right.
He is enslaved.
Yeah,
How did they not know?
Morgan... Ranger, I wish I could tell you. I do. I only played to like level 15, and then had to do raids, and it was hard.
It wasn't even raids, it was dungeons.
It was... I hate it.
It's okay.
It was too hard to live up to other people's expectations. It was too stressful.
It can be pretty stressful.
It's just like, I love Heroes of the Storm a lot, but I hate playing with other human beings because even when I do a really good job and I'm the best person on my team, if I fail to heal one person, I'm like, I'm failing my team. And then they're all like, yeah, you are.
You tower dive. You're dead.
Right?
I mean, I'll try to heal him, but like, whatever. You tower dived. Can't expect to live through that.
Guilty. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, you and I have gotten pretty good at keeping you alive through the tower dives. But,
yeah. But that's why...
But you don't tell me I'm dumb if you die.
No. And I also don't, harass you to the point where 3 matches later, you're still getting messages from me talking about how I should kill myself.
I played League of Legends, for a little bit. And I quit after... an AD carry was like, you should have stepped in front of that ult so that I didn't die. And I was like, no, you should have stepped out of the way like I did.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I was like, I'm not playing this game anymore.
At what point is your support supposed to take the hit for you?
No, if he couldn't have gotten out of the way, then perhaps. But he could have gotten out of the way. It was telegraphed. I got out of the way.
Right. Yeah. But seriously, that would be like Lowen picking up Cheshire and throwing them in front of the Chungus zombie because I'm sure it'll slow him down. It just...
Because of
it's not how the party rules work.
Because of what they did, Cheshire should slow it down for everyone else.
And Cheshire's
and
like...
just take the hit.
You're not wrong. Because Cheshire has low self-esteem.
Tyler, the hero kid, says, I can't play League to save my life. Well, you know what? It probably will save your life to not play.
I was just about to say, I know a lot of people who played League and Smite whose lives are much worse off for it and whose blood pressure is unhealthy.
Yeah. So save your life, don't play it.
Yep. Once again, talking mad shit about some really successful game developers, but
they've admitted their own.
Exactly. They're like, yeah, the community is so toxic. There's nothing we can do about it, so we don't try.
But Blizzard actively works on it,
mm-hmm.
and it shows. I mean, it certainly.
There are jerks.
There are jerks, and there are problems.
They always will.
But Blizzard's always working on it.
Yep. And in anything but Hearthstone, you can report those jerks. And in Hearthstone, you only can't report them because they have to be on your friends list to message you, so you
can just ditch them.
You made yourself susceptible to that, unfortunately. Which I understand still sucks when you're a bright-eyed, innocent, new Hearthstone player, and somebody tries to friend you, and you go, oh boy, a friend! And they tell you should kill yourself and all your family because you play Mage in Arena.
Mage.
That's a little harsh.
It's pretty harsh. Like, you only did well because you picked Mage. And it's like, then why wouldn't I pick Mage?
Right? And also, I'm like, but if I suck so bad that I should kill myself because I'm a noob who has to play Mage, but I beat you, what does that make you? And then you just hear this reeing from the other side of the fucking continent. Yeah.
I strongly believe everyone should be nice, and sometimes RNG is not on your side, and that's okay. And it's okay to be mad. It's okay to get upset. But it's not okay to be mad at the other person who benefited.
Right, because they're not RNGesus.
Right?
I got news for you.
And like, I do get mad at Hearthstone a lot, but I don't wish ill on the other person who benefited.
You also don't message them and go, fuck you, you only won that because of RNG and you know it. Like,
because what's the point? I won only because of RNG. Mm-hmm. Everyone has won just because of RNG.
I legitimately have entire decks that are built on maybe I'll win, maybe I won't. It's
but
just
nobody knows.
It's just nothing but Mayor Noggenfogger and Yogg-Saron, and I'm gonna just drop it at some point, and either he fireballs me in the face and I die, or he restores me to full health and kills everyone else and then exhausts the other guy, and that's just how it goes. Like, I think, and
it's so maddening to have that happen to you.
Yes.
But, and like I said, it's okay to be mad, but it's not okay to be mad at the other person.
Right. Now, I mean...
Unless they're cheating. I don't know how you can cheat on that.
I sit here, and you can form an entire guild of people to build arena decks directly to destroy... directly to coordinate with other people to destroy some poor streamer's arena run. Which it seems like cheating to me.
But Kripparrian benefited from that anyway because he got more viewers.
Yep.
So even then, he still won.
Right.
It's funny, though, and pretty petty. And pretty ridiculous.
Right? And he was like, why? Why? I don't understand. And I'm like, no one else does either.
Not even people doing it.
Right? It's kind of like nobody understands why people are still talking about storming Area 51. But I'm just saying, if they find totally fuckable aliens, I mean, I'm on board, but I don't think they will. I think
what was that whole meme that came out of that? Clapping their cheeks or whatever?
Yes. Oh, God. Clapping alien cheeks, man. There's a whole lot of memes that came out of that, but...
That's probably the best thing that happened from it. Although I hear the music festival was okay.
There was a...
Yeah, they had a music festival outside the grounds.
Oh, my gosh.
That's what they ended up doing.
Oh?
Pro tip, though, Naruto running slows you down.
Right? I actually think the best thing that came out of any of that was this delightful picture of this poor fucking army sergeant who had to do a PowerPoint to explain to his superior officers what Naruto running was.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's just, oh gosh. You know, the internet is a monster. It's a monster I love, but
sometimes it's a delightful monster.
Yes. Wow, those eyes are completely askew. All right, let's try that again, eh? You know, as I said before, this is 90% witchcraft and fucking up and then realizing it's fucked up.
Tyler the Hero Kid says, "Really? Alien dicks and tacos? You want that?"
Yes.
I want tacos.
You? I mean,
like Hellboy, I too love nachos.
I think you meant tacos as a euphemism for vagina.
I know, and I'm moving the conversation away from that.
But
then you just brought it right back.
But alien vagina.
Okay. This is our family-friendly stream.
All right. Well, no, it isn't.
Okay, well...
There's no such thing as a family-friendly stream with
tried.
me. I know you did. But
good.
I also tried to threesome with Tali and Garrus, and that didn't work either.
Yeah, that doesn't work out.
Because they're both really good people, and they're all like...
You also tried to romance the dwarf. Oh my gosh.
Varric. Yeah, I did. In fact, I created a petition to send to BioWare to add Varric as a romanceable option through a DLC. Got like 600 signatures.
You get to go on a DLC to find his waifu.
Oh boy!
Can I push her off a cliff?
I'm just saying, I play a mean second fiddle.
Tyler the Hero Kid says, "Family friendly? My bad."
No, my bad.
Yeah. I was moving it away and then...
If you've watched any of these streams, I think there's been an ongoing gag of, hey, we were never monetized, but we just got demonetized.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's us.
This is just the one where we do all the safe for work stuff.
Yeah. The art is semi-family friendly.
I told my kids that they can watch it when they're 13.
Whoops! They can watch it on mute.
Yep. They watch it when they're 18 now.
Right. You know what? If you'd have warned me that my niece and nephew were going to be watching this in a few years, I might have been more careful.
I'm sure. No, it's all good. They listen to D&D through the doors anyway.
Right. Ugh, I try so hard, but
it's all good.
It doesn't work. And you know what? Your son is a chaotic, evil little monster.
Yeah,
I want to hear it.
I've been running D&D for my family, and my boy chose to be a gnome fighter who rides a riding dog. And I was like, that's a great choice. That's a great character. And then he immediately threatened everyone within an inch of their lives if they even look at his dog wrong. Then he just started threatening people because it was fun. And now he's viciously protective of a group of people, and it's like, I see we chose chaotic good. Let's go with maybe neutral for now.
You're right.
And we'll see about evil. That's even my kids, they have to live with their consequences. And he did. He got charged more for the exact same services because he threatened the innkeeper, and the innkeeper was like, "Yeah, you can get out or pay more."
I straight up have played evil characters that are less evil than Wyatt's character. I love the little dork, but also he sets chickens on fire in Minecraft for fun.
I mean, I think a lot of people do that.
It's horrible. Now, at least he's not setting real chickens on fire for fun.
Nah, he's a good kid.
Sure, he is, totally. But, I
had a friend...
I was babysitting not too long ago, and I was like, sure, kids, I'll play Minecraft with you. And I'm like, I'm a very peace-loving person in Minecraft, except for villagers. I'll occasionally wantonly slaughter them, but I'm minding my own business.
So
I've collected some chickens.
Your pillar of morality just crumbled.
What? Well, that's okay. I wasn't exactly standing on it.
Yeah, good.
But I had these little chickens and was minding my own business and was perfectly happy. And the next thing I know, kid flies by in creative mode with a flint and steel and just sets all my chickens on fire and starts cackling maniacally. And I'm like, you know what? It's bedtime, you little shit.
Yeah, he's pretty fun to play Minecraft with.
Yes. And then, like, poor Izzy just wanted to be my neighbor, but couldn't find me anywhere on the map. She's like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "I have no idea."
You think I know where I am?
Like,
I don't know where I am.
I don't have a sense of direction. I don't have a mod that lets me teleport to my home, so I'm never gonna find it again.
It's gone. It's just gone.
And then she found it, and I didn't, and I couldn't. Yeah.
Oh, Minecraft.
Yes. So, I have a very poor sense of direction in video games, and these boobies are just not right at all. I'm just gonna
try again.
Just gonna try again. Yeah. I messed up those boobies. But yeah. So. Now I'm gonna give her a big, unhappy frowny face. That was a little bigger than I intended. Alright. But yeah, so this is it's gonna be the upcoming page. There's it's been a lot of trudging and running so far in this comic, but hey, that's the life of an adventurer. As my poor paladin who has a bad hip has learned, the very hard way.
Yeah, a lot of traveling.
Yeah, especially for them. I think Gigi and company have had more traveling than like any of our other groups.
Yep.
I mean, like, I guess some of our crews they technically have covered a lot more ground with multiplanar traveling.
Right.
But man, Gigi trudges a lot.
Yep.
And also he has a horse, but is like, oh no, she's hurt. I'll carry her. Wow, this whole face is actually just messed up. I think I just put her eyes in the wrong place. You know what? We're just gonna try this again. Hang on, guys. I can't find what layer I put her eyes on. There we go. Except for that one eyelash. There we go. So yeah. If anyone has any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. But I think I might be out of useful art tips because I've already exposed it as witchy shit and praying to Bolshevikus. Oops.
Well, you have a lot, but generally they have to be asked for.
Yeah, I mean,
it's hard to conceptualize something you've put into as, you know, it's now what you do. You know, you're just not learning it anymore. You've done it for 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if I had to make a lesson plan, I could, but not on the spot.
My grandpa, he just made things. He couldn't explain how he did it because he'd been a carpenter for 60 years.
Right.
He just could knock out. He could at the age of like 70, he still made his own barn.
That's really rad.
Because he just was like, all he needed was help he needed people to help him push the walls up.
Which I think is like a famous thing, barn raising, you know, of groups of people are always supposed to push the frickin' walls up or whatever, but...
I guess it was a shed. I call it a barn because it looked like a barn.
Fair enough. But still,
this is the same principle.
Yes. In fact, they were even built the very same way. In fact, in the South, they're referred to as the same thing. Did you know?
I did not.
Yes. Interestingly, if you leave from here and go towards my house, you know where like the old animal shelter used to be and the civic center is? Across the street from there's a little place that says no credit checks, best built barns. They're sheds. They're straight up sheds. And I drove by it just the other day and thought, those aren't barns, those are sheds. But then I realized that, oh, this is South Carolina and everything's a barn.
It's a barn. Go out in the barn.
Go out in the barn.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, when you're proficient or when you've got mastery of certain things, it's sometimes a little more difficult to remember.
Yeah,
how to explain it.
Right.
Tyler, the hero kid, said, "Well, the current thing I'm having an issue with is connecting the hips to the torso. I've been doing some new art and I like it a lot, but my gestures look off."
Okay, well, first off, if your gestures and poses look stiff, what you should do is before you start drawing every single day is sit down and do 15 to 30 minutes worth of like 10 to 30-second gesture drawings. And what gesture drawings is, for anyone who doesn't know, are basically figure drawings. I'm going to just come up here and do one really fast. Figure drawings that focus on the motion, not on like the anatomy or the shape, right? So like this will be our spine, but it's not really accurate because we're just focusing on the motion here of this person who is, let's say they're going to be like dancing, and they're going to have like an arm down here and like one up here, because that flow is what is going to give you a hand with your more natural movements. And hang on, go do this bootay, and then her leg would come down like this, and ta-da. So practice with those.
Because you can totally tell that's a dancing pose.
A lot. Like, there is just absolutely nothing you can do for yourself that is better than gesture drawing as an artist. And I don't care how old you get, and I don't care how experienced you are. I follow artists who are 1,000 times better than me and have been doing comics or whatever professionally for 60 years that still start every day with gesture drawings as a warm-up. But as far as connecting hips to the torso, that is just, you got to study your anatomy. At the end of the day, I mean, there are people who will teach you tricks like, oh, well, you can draw the torso like this and put this little like hole here, and then you can just kind of picture where your spine is coming out and draw your hips and yada yada. But the frank truth of the matter is, if you do this, if you build all of your figures on a broken up, mannequin shape, that they are just going to look stiffer because they're less natural, because you've broken them into bits and pieces, and the human body isn't in bits and pieces, and you can cover it, with your
ligaments go clear through each different piece.
Mm-hmm. And you can make it look more realistic, but you can't necessarily make it look less stiff. I mean, obviously, if you look at the two of these, one of them is much less stiff than the other. There are all sorts of tricks and tips, and like a lot of people say you should build on like a like stick figure skeleton, and you can do that. I did that for a long time, and it does help you practice anatomy and proportions and make sure they're right. But once again, they are just frankly going to be stiffer because you're making your lines like this, and then when you go to fill them out, you have to kind of push and pull and accommodate for things, and they're just going to end up looking a little less smooth and dynamic. But that's a great way to practice your anatomy and then combine it with your practicing of gesture drawings and your understanding of motion and fluidity to be able to create something that is, in the end of the day, both anatomically fairly accurate and aesthetically pleasing.
Now her ears are a millimeter off.
Yeah, they are. But they are aesthetically pleasing.
No, too tall.
Just gonna flip this table and go home. Bye, guys.
What I mean by that is, I guess you'll never please everybody.
Yes,
but
100% true.
What you're going for is, each of those three different ways she showed you are probably for three different ideas.
Right, and the thing is that you've also got to remember that your art is about. Well, unless you're making a career of it and you're begging people for money on your Patreon, P.S. please give us money on our Patreon. Your art is for you, and you will bog yourself down so badly looking at it and asking yourself over and over if it's good or bad. And at the end of the day, I personally believe there is just no such thing as bad art. In fact, and this is kind of a dumb story, but it's relevant. When I was younger, like I was first getting into high school, and my brother was like 3 years younger than me. So we were homeschooled, but my mom, I think, actually has a lot of artistic talent. But she never pursued it or became an artist because some angry nun in Catholic school yelled at her because she colored in a picture of Jesus and made his skin orange. And the woman berated her until she was like terrified to ever draw or color anything again. And now she hates it. But she was always really proud of me growing up because she thought I was a good artist. And so when my brother was supposed to take an art class, she wanted me to help her teach him. And one day I was helping him with his homework, and I was trying to explain anatomy to him, and he basically took everything I taught him, and he just drew a dude pooping into a bucket. And I took it, and I critiqued it like I would anything else. And then my mom looked at it, and she was like, I appreciate how much time you spent critiquing this, but, like, I'm still going to fail him because he's clearly not taking his lessons seriously. But I don't think there is such thing as bad art. And I've explained that to many friends who are like, oh, my art is bad, and they don't want to practice because they look at my art or artists online and they're like, yeah, I'm never going to get there. And I'm like, well, guess what? When I started, I thought the same thing, and I obsessively was like, oh, is this good? Is this bad? Is this good? Is this bad? And I threw away more art than you could ever possibly imagine instead of just learning from it. And it's fine to critique yourself and to want to be better. You should never allow yourself to stagnate, but at the end of the day, art is just an expression, and you can't really express yourself creatively badly. The only way you can badly express yourself is through like yelling at people. I think anyway. And I guess I'm just like soft-hearted about art because I do not think the same about writing, which is also an art form, and so I shouldn't be a harsh critic of writing, but I am, and I don't know why that is. I think it's because there are really concrete rules in English and in writing that you can totally bend if you know how to do it for the purpose of creative liberties, and I have no problem with that, but you have to understand them first, and I guess that's true of art too, but anyway. I picked up a novel actually yesterday while I was cleaning my room that I had bought years ago, and I was like, why did I never finish reading this? And I opened it to one paragraph, and I was like, oh, that's why, and I immediately put it in the Goodwill pile. So, I guess I'm kind of hypocritical because I'm harshly critical of writing, but then I'm like, oh, but there's no bad way to express yourself in art. But I do think that is true, and that, a lot of people are really worried about their style or their technical ability, and all that stuff just kind of comes with time, and it's more important to enjoy what you're doing and be proud of it than it is to be at the same technical level as someone else. Because guess what? It doesn't matter how good you get, there's always going to be someone better than you. Like, always. I mean, I'm light years ahead of where I was 3 years ago, and I still open one tab on the internet and I'm like, oh my god, that's right. Hundreds of thousands of people are still so much better than me, So if you really worry about that stuff, you're just going to kill yourself and your ability to draw.
Sorry, I was checking on my daughter. Apparently she's feeling sick.
Oh no. How poor is she?
Tyler the Hero Kid asked, do you do critiques on stream?
I don't unfortunately really have any way to do critiques on stream, but we
actually do have something on our Patreon. If you support us at the Epic Bard level, you can ask for critiques from Bard.
Yes.
And her time is really valuable, so we kind of do ask for that because a serious art critique can take a lot of time, right?
Yes. I do offer personalized critique and miniature. I say lessons very, very loosely, but little bitty tutorials if you are an Epic Bard patron, because Unfortunately, it's not something that I can dedicate, my everyday time to, because this is a full-time job for me, and I also work an additional second full-time job and run a household. So I would be happy to, take a look at anything that my patrons are curious about, but that is kind of why it's locked behind a paywall, because
everything on stream is going to be very general.
Yes, because personalized critiques are they're detailed and they're time consuming, and they are more beneficial than just generalized art advice. And if you were to go to a restaurant, they would cook for you, but that doesn't mean that they would teach you how to cook. You have to take classes for that. And unfortunately, if I were to dedicate the amount of time to, art tutorials that I do to pages, we would be updating like once every 3 months. And I wouldn't be able to put out as much content for everybody, and that would make me very sad. So we can't really do critiques on stream, but I'm always happy to answer questions to the best of my ability. And like I said, if at some point you want to become an Epic Bard patron, you'll get my personal email address, and whenever I do have free time, I'm always happy to work on stuff with you. And I say this as I redraw these eyes for the 5th millionth time, because, man, sometimes eyes are the devil.
And also, we're talking while she does art, so she can't quite focus on it like she does when she's in a dedicated work position.
Yeah, if it seems like I ramble a little bit, it's because my brain is split between the witchy shit that is making symmetrical eyes and trying to make all my life experiences make sense into a life lesson or an art lesson. And oh yes, that's perfect. Gosh, she's such a bitch. Anyway, and it sometimes gets lost in translation, I think. I try to listen to the streams and see where I trail off and critique our own streams so that we're putting out better content for everyone, but I have found that, unfortunately, the last couple of weeks, I've been so pressed to even get the page done that I have not really been able to do that. And so, as we get more experienced, I think we'll get...
Well, and, you can't forecast going to the hospital. That happened. You can't forecast an arm injury. That happened. There's really no compensating for the arm injury.
Yeah, no, and sadly, being hospitalized and having 2 major surgeries, well, 2 semi-large surgeries in a year, and having an arm injury, and having the treatment plan for all of those being rest and don't use it.
What did your chiropractor say? Are you done with all the art stuff? Is that over now?
Yeah, that is exactly what he said. And my massage therapist was like, oh, yeah, well, if you're gonna keep doing this for a living, you should see me, like, a lot. And I'm like, cool, I'll just...
When I have the cash.
I'll just come up with an extra $240 a month to treat my arm.
Nice.
Well, it sure would. But yeah, so injuries and surgeries and all this crazy stuff
really put us behind in the last 2 months. But
yes.
We've hit a notable milestone. We're very happy.
Yes.
We had over 1,000 visitors to the website this month. And this month's technically not even over yet.
Yep.
So we've had a significant amount of growth since June.
And we also hit 100 Twitter followers.
Yes, we are now at like 112. We did an art share on Twitter, if anyone would like to see that. You can check it out at Threads of Fate Comic 42.
To share your own art.
Yes, you can go check out our Twitter and post your art on our art share.
I've retweeted it several times now. because I just want to keep it at the top of my page for all my followers to be able to share their stuff, because I think that art shares are like the coolest thing ever. And I got onto Twitter, and I had never really used Twitter before Threads, and most of my experience with social media and art has been negative. Especially like Facebook is just not a really great community for art. And then I got on Twitter and like started looking at artists, and everybody's doing like art shares left and right, and everyone's super supportive and cool. And I was just like, oh, like Twitter loves artists. And then I realized that that's because all the people who abandoned the sinking ship that was Tumblr came to Twitter. And I was like, oh, yay. So Twitter is actually a great place to get critique on your art and to find lots of cool free tutorials and to share your art and meet a lot of other artists and mutuals and people who are just really super rad from all over the world. I actually had the extreme honor of talking to the creator of Next Town Over, which is a webcomic that I have loved for years and years and years. She was looking for somebody to do flats for her, and I got in contact with her about the job, and she actually followed me and complimented Threads and said that it seemed interesting and it was something she was going to keep her eye on. And like, you know what? Even if she never looked at it, like the fact that she was that polite about my work, I was like, oh my god, senpai noticed me, because like I have obsessively admired this woman for a really long time, and her work is amazing, and you should definitely check it out. And her Twitter's also always really fun and full of her stories about her son, who is a delightful, I think he's like 4 now. But yeah, so Twitter is a great place, and you should check out our Twitter and join and share your art, and there's a lot to learn in seeing how other people do things.
We also post interesting little character interactions.
Yes.
That are what might have been, or things that could possibly be said or done.
Yep.
Which I think are fairly amusing little interactions. So it's worth following. It's not just It's not just a
dump account.
Yeah, it's not a dump account. Our Facebook has all our information you can follow. And then also, if you become a patron, even at the $1 level, you get all of the news and information first.
Yep. And on the topic of those interactions, they may be like one of the only places for a long time that you'll hear Cheshire talk or see them smile.
Indeed.
And I have this dream that one of these days I will have time to do little doodles for some of my favorites of those interactions, like in strip format or something.
The arm wrestling one would be quite delightful.
I know. And so, there hopefully will be lots of content always available to you, and especially through our various social media. But the main focus, obviously, right now is the comic and pages and progressing the story for all of our wonderful patrons who, put forward their generous donations for me to be able to do this. Because we definitely could not without you guys.
Tyler the Hero Kid says, okay, cool, I'm actually going to do that because I've been looking for a community, but I've been so confused on how to use Twitter and talk to people.
Twitter recently updated its whole interface, and I think it was supposed to be to make it, like, easier. And so far, from what I can tell, everyone hates it, and it's really complicated. But I am so new to Twitter that I wasn't used to the old Twitter, so it hasn't really been much of a problem for me. But I think once you get used to it, it's really not super bad.
Yeah, it's pretty.
It's pretty straightforward
once
you figure it out.
Do stuff and learn it.
I was on an art share where the person who had done the share was like, "Hey, please untag me from your conversations," because they were getting a bajillion denotifications, right, from all the people talking. And I was like, I'm so sorry, but I don't know how to do that.
If you are more familiar with Facebook, you can also find links to our Twitter. If you scroll down the feed, I've posted our Twitter handle there a few times. It'll help you get there and
find everything. Yep. But so I had to have somebody on Twitter explain to me how to untag them from something so that I wasn't blowing up their poor feed with like a million notifications from people talking back and forth to me. And I was like, sorry. But they were cool about it. But yeah, so her boobs are just too perky. I'm just gonna look. This is probably gonna look different when it gets posted, because they're too ginormous is the problem. Is why they look so huge. But I'll fix that later. I'm gonna work on Shale for a little bit because I love drawing Shale because she's crazy.
Yeah.
And she's gonna be looking.
Shale's that crazy kind of fun.
Yes.
You're like, this is gonna get out of hand, but I'm gonna watch and it's gonna be fun.
This is gonna get out of hand really fast, and this drunken bar brawl is probably gonna end in a death. But you know what? I also feel like Shale is that girl that you meet in college who like sets cars on fire for fun, and you're like, I don't want to be around you because you're terrifying, but for some reason you just keep hanging out with her.
I just keep watching the dumpster fire.
Right? Because then she just crushes that glass bottle on her head like it's a it's a Coke can, and you're just like, you're so mystifying and impressive and scary. Yeah, Shale's interesting. She's one of my favorite characters to pose and draw. She's my least favorite character to color, though. Coloring her is very frustrating because she is so many tones of brown. But Shale and Aintai and Cheshire are 100% my favorite characters to draw. They tend to be the most expressive. And hang on, I gotta check how her little hair swoopy goes. Yeah, okay. I was pretty sure I was right, and I was. Yay! But Shale always has this like everything about her posture and her expressions is just this bloodthirsty confidence, which is interesting, and it's unique and fun to draw because it's not something I have a lot of experience with, having never played or illustrated a barbarian myself. Well, I mean, until her. So she's interesting and she's a lot of fun, and then Eintai's face, just something about it is so delightfully expressive. And Cheshire, between being the bard and also being like the smallest one and the most animated of any of them, just gives off the most expression. So Cheshire's expressions are also always delightful to do. It kind of makes me a little bit sad that I've drawn, I think, pushing 13 pages of this comic now, with
7 plus 5.
So 5 prologue pages.
5 prologue pages and 7.
Yeah. So 12. Okay.
This is 13. Yeah. So
yeah.
You're right.
So I was right. Okay. I was sort of right. I was right enough.
Yeah. It's 5 prologue pages.
So, having drawn, almost 13 pages of this comic, I have drawn Cheshire smiling one time. And Cheshire looking horrified in every other panel. But, eventually, I'm sure there will be more of those. What's actually interesting, though, is that it's not terribly untrue of before we started the comic as well. We had a forum for the art that I and some of the other players were doing for the campaign. And when I finally actually drew a picture of Cheshire happy, it was very long overdue, to the point where people on the forum were calling me out on, like, you said you were going to draw Cheshire Happy, and I saved the image as Cheshire Actually Happy, oh my fucking god, and posted it. And then right after that, I drew one of Cheshire crying again.
Well,
but, you know.
That's their natural expression.
It is. It's like, I drew this picture of Cheshire that it was just kind of delightful, and there were some butterflies in the background, and it wasn't really...
It's very nice.
And it's super, super pretty, and there's not really any... There was no context to it. I just drew it one day. But they are crying. And one of the other players commented on it and was like, "Oh, why is Cheshire crying?" And I'm like, "Because Cheshire cries as easily as they breathe." Like, that is... Crying is Cheshire's natural state. Like,
they're sad, they cry. They're happy, they cry.
Right?
They're hanging around, they cry.
Right? They're worried, they cry. They feel guilty, oh wait, spoiler alert, they cry.
They cry.
The only alternative to cry is sing, and usually it's just both.
Cry sing.
Yes. Yeah, so that, that's Cheshire in a nutshell. They're never not going to be a really emotional character, and I'm okay with that, because emotional characters
are too kawaii. They're too cute to live, but too kawaii to die.
Yes, 100% true. And Cheshire's like, "No, I'm too metal to die," and everyone just like stares at them like, "Wait, what?" Yeah.
Maybe if you're
Baby metal.
Maybe if you're playing had summoned the Goliath zombie instead of just
did.
alerting it.
It brought it right to us. That's summoning.
That's not the magical.
Prove me other. Just. I hate you. I hate all of you. That's why I summoned a Chungus zombie.
The Chungus zombie.
Yes. Yeah, you're all like, "I'm a DM, it's a Goliath zombie," and I'm like, "It's a Chungus boy."
It's a Chungus boy. He doesn't care.
Right? No, I don't think he does. I have another interesting story regarding the difference between DMs and players. My baby sister has been DMing this campaign for a long time that went on like a semi-permanent hiatus. And her players all finally got back together, and they played a session the other day. And she messaged me, and she's like, "Fucking bards." And I'm like...
Yeah.
Why are you sending me this personal attack? Well, apparently she had been essentially tormenting them with a monster that was so huge, but blended in with the incredibly thick forest that they were in, that, like, their half-dragon looked up while he was on watch, and he thought he saw the moon for a minute, but it was just one of its eyes. And, well, everybody's freaking out about this monster, and nobody can figure out what it is, and the bard just goes, "Well, you know what? I think it's a boy and a friend." And she's like, "Yeah, that's highly debatable. Both of those statements are highly debatable." And the bard just responds, "Well, it's a boy and a friend in my heart." And she's like, "This is the shit I'm dealing with." And I'm like, "Well, it's clearly a boy and a friend." And she's like, "No, it isn't! It's a giant angry demigod." And I was like, "It's a boy and a friend to me." And she was like, "Fucking bards!" And yeah, it was just pretty delightful.
Bards are the best and the worst part of DMing. They really are. And you know what? Yeah. It's up to the DM to make them the best part, I think.
Yes. Because some DMs shit on bards, like many people do, and it's really unfair.
And, I mean, yeah, they can be a lame support character class, but that's only if you let them be.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, they can be very interesting and very fun to play. Mm-hmm. And, I'm finally getting to play for the first time in a long time.
Yes.
And I threw levels of bard in on my thing. But it also made a lot of sense, and
yes.
It's not to be silly or anything.
No, he's super serial, just like my character, who is a sociopathic
bard.
being.
He's not primarily a bard, but a bard can make things very useful and
yes.
and can exaggerate features of other classes in a really interesting way.
Mm-hmm. And there are different kinds of bards. There are the classic bards that they fuck everything and get the whole party in trouble. This is a true story. And then there are bards like Cheshire that you look at and go, "Are you sure you're a bard? Because you're awfully brown and quiet." and
plain seeming.
Yeah. And by brown I mean not brown skinned, but like just the blah, right? Like, I mean, the only person who blends into the background more than Cheshire is Alex, and that's because Alex is literally wearing a cloak the color of mist because he uses it to hide. Like, he is deliberately trying to blend into the background, and Cheshire is just kind of blah. But, you know...
Sir Peter says if it's sentient and up for it, it's fair game.
Damn straight.
It's true.
It's a boy and a friend.
It's bard true.
100%. It's bard and old.
Bard true is true for bards, but maybe not for anyone else.
And bards say truth is relative.
And all the lawful characters in the world go, ah!
And Gigi's like, oh,
it
maybe,
is.
Maybe it is. It is? Okay.
But we had something so special, Gigi.
Listen. So I am currently playing a lawful good paladin who is basically if a Labrador and a Disney princess got sucked into a void and somehow spat out the same being that was a 320-pound paladin, that's him. And there is an NPC bard that's been traveling with us who every single thing she says is a lie and changes personality every 3 days. But
she's just trying it on for fit that day.
Right? But she's pretty, and she's nice, and she has fabulous hair that he really wants to braid. And she's been hitting on him a lot recently, and he called her out on it and was like, "Why are you suddenly interested in me?" And she just was like, "I thought what we had was special." And he was like, "Oh God, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize." And I'm like, I know that this woman is manipulating you. But he's genuine, but he doesn't. He's a little bit gullible. And a little bit weak to red hair and fabulous boobies. Just a little bit. They will be the death of him. But, so, he has a serious problem with the women in his life manipulating him. And she is one of them, for 100% sure. But, you know, she's a bard. And she's just like, well, you know, yeah... I suddenly realized that I wanted a serious relationship with you. And he's like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I didn't know. And everyone's like, dude, just because she says it doesn't mean it's true. And he's like, wait. And she's like, no, it's 100% true. And it
the words of every liar.
Right? Exactly. And it only compounds things that she's a perform oratory bard, which means all her inspires and spells are used by her declaring something, and then it essentially becomes true. So he's in a very tricky position, and it's not fair to him because he's a good boy.
Everyone wants a good boy.
I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't do the exact same thing she did, but I'm also a bard. Alright guys, well we have like a little over 10 minutes left, and my fingers are breaking, so if anyone has any more questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah, now's the time.
And we will both do our best, but you're probably not going to get a whole lot more art out of me, because, as I said, my fingers are breaking. I've actually been at this for several hours before the stream started. I'm not just a, complete puss, but a very tired lady.
And as we mentioned, recovering.
Yes.
From wounds.
A very tired lady who is recovering from wounds in the exact opposite way that all of her doctors told her to.
Yay.
Yay. Well, guess what? My doctors are all doctors, and they make like 6 figures.
Yeah.
And get paid by insurance companies.
It's easy for them to say.
It's real easy for them to be like, just rest it. Just stay off of it. I'm like, oh, how many vacation days do you get a year, doc? You can't tell, but I'm giving an accusing stare to the air.
I know, and it's frustrating because, this is the first year. I mean, we went on a tiny, short vacation.
Right.
So we can't
2
even say
days.
this year. There's like, well, no, but I mean, years before since I've been on
Right.
vacation.
So I actually had to go see an allergist, and she was telling me that like, oh well, if you travel and you go on vacation, you need to make sure you bring all your own skincare products, which I already do because I'm a neurotic, and like your own pillow and protection from dust mites and blah 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 because I apparently have a severe dust mite and cockroach allergy. But I looked at her and I was like, ma'am, look, I really appreciate the advice, but I can count on one hand the amount of times I have traveled, like to where I've had to stay in a hotel, in the last 5 or 6 years on one hand, and it was a 2-day vacation at the beginning of the year this year, a 2-day vacation in the middle of the year last year, and then to see my dying grandma. And before that, it was like 4 or 5 years prior when I went to Disney World with my family. Like that's, and by the way, we had an employee in the family, so like don't get any ideas that I could afford Disney World.
And lots of things change in 5 years.
Yes. So yeah, I was just, and she was like, "Oh, well, that's good." I'm like, "No, it's not.
It's not."
I'm like, no. But yeah, so it's very easy for my doctors to tell me, don't lift over 8 pounds and don't overuse it and don't this, that, and the other. And I'm like,
yeah, but I gotta put a page out.
I'm like, dude, I gotta put a page out. And also, like, I have to clean my entire house. And also, like, I have to pick up my piece of shit garbage dog because she won't come inside when I call her for reasons. And she weighs 8 pounds. Goodness gracious.
Her neck weighs 8 pounds.
I was talking about Shirahoshi, not Ari.
Okay.
Ari's neck fat weighs 8 pounds, you're right. And she wants me to carry her, but I won't carry her because you will find me collapsed in my yard with my spine broken in half because she's overweight and wiggly.
Yeah.
My shepherd,
She's not calm.
My shepherd has almost as many anxiety problems as I do, and the
medication did not work.
And the medication made it 1,000 times worse. And she's old, and she weighs like 95 pounds now. Like, she gains 5 pounds every time we go to the damn vet. And, like, it's weird because she doesn't really eat much, but she just always gains weight.
It's that cortisol, man.
Yeah, it is. That's a true story. But she is so fat, and she likes to go on walks, but, like, only maybe 1/4 of a mile, and anything above that, she gets tired and starts slamming her whole body into my legs in an attempt to get me to pick her up and carry her home. She also,
not helpful.
Right? Not helpful at all. She also is a bad walkies partner because she gets scared when trucks go by. And instead of trying to push me away from the danger, like, my other dogs have always done in the past, she tries to push me into the road to get away. And I just, it's like, Ari, neither of us would have been in danger if you hadn't pushed me. But if you push me and I'm holding onto the leash, I'm going to fall into the road and we're both going to die. But I think she would be 100% okay with a suicide pact with me. I really do.
Yeah, she would.
I love my dog, but she's like the worst dog who ever lived. Both of them are actually terrible.
Very,
animals.
very, very different ways.
Yes.
And then it's not Noden's fault.
No,
he tries.
Yeah. He tries real hard, and Mela is a really good cat, except when she bullies small kittens into a tree at 10 p.m., and then it makes my life very difficult. This is your preview of the upcoming page, and I hope you guys enjoyed the stream, and I
hope you derive great meaning from the blue squiggles that you don't get to see.
Yeah. They're, very sensible, I think. Not. I can tell you from this particular blue squiggle right here that Alex is really hot. That's what I can tell you. It's actually interesting because when we first did that art share on Twitter, like, there were like 3 people who had posted their art, and one of them was, of course, our account. So I wanted to comment on everything because I want to comment on everything in an art share and not just drop and go. But then I was looking at that, I was like, oh, I drew these. It's very self-serving to comment on these. So instead I was like, Alex is hot. Tell me again how my reckless prattle will get my whole team killed, Daddy.
I'm not sure how everyone took that, but it's true.
It's 100%. Oh my gosh. And
Alex will tell you how that will get everyone killed.
Yes, in fact, in response to what I just said. He'll squint at me real hard.
Like, you're gonna get everyone killed.
Probably scowl and then be like, what you're doing right now?
That's it. Yeah.
That's it. That's the problem.
Why are you broadcasting what we're doing to everyone? Stop it.
Right? I'm like, Alex, you gotta calm down. They're gonna give us money. And he's like,
money is not important. Survival is. But money for us is survival.
Right? We can't just go out into the wild and murder deer.
I don't know how to do that, and right? I also don't want to.
And I don't want to. And he's like, well, then you're gonna die.
Is the art share on the Threads of Fate Twitter page or I assume Bard's Twitter page? It's on our Threads of Fate Twitter page.
Yeah.
You should follow both. We support each other's accounts.
Yes.
I always tag. Almost always tag. There was one time it didn't work, so.
How dare you?
Yeah, I'm
so
sorry.
betrayed.
Anyway, you can usually find all the stuff on either one, but the main. So the Threads of Fate Twitter page is the one that will have all of our Twitter, or all of our Threads of Fate related stuff, including our art shares, and then Bard does her own things on there, on hers, but then also retweets our main stuff.
Yes. I pretty much, I think I retweet almost everything that the Threads account posts, but also my non-Threads art will be up on my own personal Twitter. Now that said, there's not a lot of that anymore, because as I said, I am a woman with very limited time, but a lot of my not Threads related art is on my own page, and a handful of memes, and a handful of political retweets that were just too rich to not share. But yeah, so they're both good stuff, I think.
Yes. The main page
stroke my own ego.
is connected to a few more people in the art community.
Quite a few. Quite a few.
But that's why I say I think you should follow both.
Yeah. When we say there's 160 Twitter followers between the two of us, 120 of those are the Threads Twitter. But that's fine.
That's the one that links to the Patreon after all.
Yeah. Mine has, I think, my old coffee, but the only goal I ever had on my old coffee was like, I want to adopt a bird, so if you donate to this, I can get a bird. And then I made a bunch of money donating platelets and like couponing and like.
It's funny that your blood bird is white.
Right. I literally sold blood until I saved up enough side hustle money to adopt a bird. But yeah, so thank you guys very much for joining Ranger and Orlia and I. She has ditched us to go hang out in the freaking rafters or whatever, like birds do. But it's been delightful. And as always, if you enjoy what we do, check out our social media and our Patreon. And I believe Ranger's going to link our Twitter in the comments. So, yeah. And we'll see you guys 2 Mondays from now. And hopefully this page will be up for all to view next Sunday. Well, this upcoming Sunday. So,
yes.
It's technically next Sunday, but like not next Sunday. And I hope you guys have a great week and everybody stays healthy and well and happy, and we will see you later.
Yep. Have a great week. Couple of weeks. Bye.